Hey, so let's talk about the Republican primary for the presidency. The big news is not the people in the race, it's the people who have decided to stay out of the race. First, the New Jersey governor, Chris Christie, who a lot of big money donors in the New York area in New Jersey really wanted to support. It turns out he said no. There's a couple reasons for that. Number one, the primary schedule switched up. They moved up a month, so it became kind of more difficult to run for president because you kind of need a ground game going a couple months beforehand, or you would need to get it going basically about 2 weeks ago to really work it out from modern schedule. The other aspect of it is, I think that these people were saying that they'd support his campaign, and he asked for some cash, and he didn't get enough, basically. These people wanted to see him run and see how he did before they invested in him, basically. Makes sense, right? You want to get an idea what you're investing in. So, even though he got a lot of money, it probably wasn't enough to really compete against Romney, who's been raising money for virtually the entire run of Obama's presidency. Or Perry, who got a bunch of money fairly quickly in comparison to Romney, but we'll get to those candidates. The other one, the big news, Sarah Palin decided not to run. Nobody seemed to care on the media, which is incredibly surprising because the media talked about Sarah Palin virtually daily when it came to politics through 2009, through 2010, into parts of 2011, and then they just kind of dropped it. And part of this is just because everybody kind of knew that she wasn't going to run. She really did not organize her PAC into a functional electoral system. She had indicated that there were some indications that she wasn't going to run fairly early. And I just don't see her breaking through because her poll ratings had suffered. And that even in the Republican primary process, they weren't great. They were bad. I mean, they were like 15, 20%, but they weren't, great. They were, anyway. And that's the high ball estimate, by the way. The 15% is kind of the high ball. I gave her an extra 5 because maybe the media bounce would help her. But it was looking like she wasn't going to break through. So she decided not to run, which, she's a maverick, I guess. Anyway, on to the rest of the candidates, probably the more important ones. Big development with them. First off, the superstar that was Perry is no more. He crashed. 10-point swing in weeks, not months, is a huge deal in politics, and Perry is over that. It's horrible. And we're talking about averages of polls. This isn't like one poll came out and said Perry had 2%. This is like they averaged out polls, and he's down more than 10%. Bad news. And it's a straight drop. It's not like, 1 week he did mediocre bad, and it's bad news. And it's not over yet. It hasn't reached his bottom, so that's not good news. Also, who's benefited from this? A number of candidates have moved up. First off, I'll start with the bottom. Gingrich has actually gained some support. Not enough to really be into serious contention, but he definitely is making progress. He's basically up to about where he entered the race, which, if you remember, he had a major setback when his his entire centralized staff, not the grunts on the ground, but his centralized staff quit. Kind of a significant development. He was able to kind of come back from that. He also had another affair with jewelry that I won't repeat because that's just kind of tabloid bullshit. Anyway, so he basically didn't. He's making progress, but he's still got a long ways to go. So we'll see. The other candidate that's made probably the most progress is Kaine. Kaine has jumped up about 10 points, maybe 12. It's kind of a rough number. It's a significant development. Now, a lot of his supporters are the people that supported a number of candidates. There's about 12 to almost 15%. It's like 10 to 15%. Is kind of a group of Republicans that are very indecisive on the candidate they're going to pick. For example, if you trace these candidates, they started out with Trump, then they went to Bachmann, then they went to Perry, and now they're on Kaine. A lot of people don't believe, because this group is so willing to jump around with candidates, switch candidates up for their support, that they'll probably not stay with Kaine. I tend to agree with them, not because I think Kaine's a bad candidate. I just don't see him winning the first couple states, and after even if he was able to last, which I doubt, because the window of support from this group seems to be about a month and a half at the most. So that we got longer than that to the election. So my guess is that they'll jump around a little bit more and probably come back to Perry. Why would I say that they go back to Perry? Because Perry's got the money. You got the money. And that's why. It's politics is money, man. I mean, the other candidate, of course, that's got a bunch of money but doesn't seem to break through, who just puts a hole through my previous statement, is Romney. Romney has improved from his earlier polls where he was down. He's about at his peak, which is 24, 25%, somewhere around there. Now, this is averaging, so some people have him a lot further up, and some people have him a lot further down. Now, this doesn't sound like significant, 24, 25%, but what you got to understand is he was down to about 15, 16%, and he was 10 points over 10 points behind Perry at one point. So he's climbed himself out of a hole, but he's hitting the ceiling that he's been stuck at virtually ever since he started running for president. It's been about 25%. So, I mean, when he was running against, McCain, he was at 25%. I mean, this is his ceiling. Now, we'll see what happens. The other candidates, I should mention, Ron Paul is a little bit off his highs, but not significantly. He's always kind of in between 10 and 7%. So we'll see if he moves up any further. This is, once again, is on average. The other candidates are, how do I put it? They're kind of flat. Bachmann has continued to collapse. Oh, I feel sorry for Bachmann. I almost didn't mention her because she's been following. She's been falling. I think I said following. But she's been falling continuously since Perry entered the race. And even when Perry's polls collapsed, she didn't regain any support. So things are looking pretty bad. The other two candidates, Huntsman and what's his name, Santorum, are right where we left off. Basically, they go up a point, they go down a point. They're flatlining at under 3 to 4%. So we'll see what happens with them. We got a while to the election, but you got to start seeing some movement, or if you're on this bottom tier, or else you're just not going to get there. So we'll see. I think the big event that's coming up is the debate. Now, why is this debate important? Now, I told you when Perry got into debate, it was important. This debate with Perry's polls suffering, very important. Perry has the ability, if he gives a good debate, to pull himself out. And the lower tier needs to, punch through and get through, so we'll see how Kaine does. If he does a good debate again, he might be able to do that. The other candidates need to swing a lot harder and a lot cleaner, so we'll see what happens. Romney basically just needs to keep doing what he's doing, and hope that the ceiling that he's got, about 25%, just picks him at the end. He's got enough money to play this game out. I think my prediction remains kind of the same, which is the two major candidates that will be fighting through the entire process are going to be the ones with the money, which is Perry and Romney. And Romney's got more money. That's why he'll probably win. Also, he's been running for a long time, so a lot more ground game developed, or a lot more talking to people overall. That's my opinion. If you want to drop a comment, do that. Have a great day. Subscribe, comment, rate. Goodbye.